de
Quito una vez más.
No, es que, mira, nuestra mirada está muy contaminada por la fotografía. Entonces tú miras esto al lado de esto y siempre parece esto mejor, pero es que esto es peor que eso.
Ya. Ahí quito ya.
¿Qué le vamos a hacer?
Pero a ver, ya lo hemos visto muchos años, lo hemos premiado siempre.
No, pero esa cabeza...
Desde el primer
pero esto está pintado, esto tiene, bueno, hay una sustancia pictórica. Yo no discutir esto ahora es demasiado.
No está discutiendo,
está bien,
coincido contigo.
Yo,
Esa cabeza todo un mundo de pensamiento. Para pintar eso hay que sentir mucho y saber pintar.
si se pinta de natural, sí, si se coge una foto.
Bueno, perdona, pero eso está pintado por el natural, aunque haya partido de una fotografía y
No lo sé,
poner la mano.
yo no lo veo tan claro.
Es que si no, no se consigue eso.
Yo veo ese paisaje, que es un paisaje muy poco, donde no hay aire, donde no hay humedad, no sientes la naturaleza ahí para nada.
Yo lo veo, yo veo el aire y la humedad.
Yo también.
Tiene una pregunta.
Which is everywhere for me, which is the question
Por todas
of
partes.
the camera and the evidence of the
La
camera.
pregunta de la cámara y la evidencia de la cámara.
And it's not, I just don't, in something like this,
Y en algo así
it looks, I can see
puedo ver
the family snapshot. You go through like this, it's like, oh, look at that. And it's not that it's bad,
no es como está mal,
but I don't understand
pero no entiendo
on a philosophical
en
level
un nivel filosófico
what it is when it looks so much like
lo que es cuando parece tanto
the photograph.
como la foto.
When it goes to become
Cuando se
modern,
convierte en algo moderno,
like photorealism,
como el
it's
fotorealismo,
clear it's an
es claro que
intentional
es un
act of
esfuerzo
irony.
intencional
Of
para
modernism,
crear la
coming out of the
ironía.
1960s, photorealism is the art of the ironist. But now with the blending
Ahora, con
of
el
the
mezclar
method of photorealism
los métodos
into
de fotorealismo
the spirit and aesthetic of
y el
traditionalism,
espíritu y
I'm so
el
confused.
tradicionalismo él está un poco confundido.
I'm not saying it's illegitimate. I just don't know how to. It's my own problem. I just don't know how
Dice
to.
que su problema personal es que
I just don't understand the category
no entienda la categoría a
Or the-
que pertenece una obra
or
así.
the motivation, the artistic
O cuál es
motivation.
el motivo artístico.
I think
Si se pudiera traer aquí el cuadro de Andrew White, del mundo de Cristina, y se pusiera aquí, se vería en qué consiste hacerlo del natural y hacerlo de fotografía.
I think any method should be allowed, anything at all. Important is what is the end result. If I look at a painting and something is touching and moving me, then I don't care if this is 70s, 60s, 100 years ago, right now camera or not camera, or I painted it with his ass, I don't care. Because all the theory can really be something that's between you and what's happening. And what Kandinsky said was very smart. He said, an artwork needs only the creator who creates it and the naive onlooker. And he said the only really enemy of this experience of art is the critic, who comes in between and compares it with rules of the past and laws of the past that somebody has made up. And I think
Dice
that
que
can
el
be a problem.
enemigo del
Look at Caravaggio. These were painters, or Vermeer, they used the camera obscura. Yeah? So that means it was projected on the wall. It was photographic. And it was traced from that. Who cares? Look at the result. It's amazing. However I did it, who cares? I think critics and theorists have brought in too many ideas and
Los
rules.
críticos y los
And
teoristas
I think
han traído
rules
demasiadas
are
reglas.
actually poison for art. Art is something
Yes,
that you have
it's
to experience with your
toxic.
senses, with your heart,
Can we
with your
come
soul,
back? Yes, okay.
and not so much with your mind.
Can we come back to something?
Sure.
Hockney said something very interesting. He said, in spite of Da Vinci, Rembrandt,
A
and
pesar de Da
Titian,
Vinci, Rembrandt, etc.
all of these people have used camera obscura.
Todas
And I
esas
go back and
personas han
say,
usado
why do the best not use camera obscura? That is the problem.
Yeah, but
Why didn't El Greco use it? Why didn't Rembrandt use it? Why didn't Titian use it? Why didn't Leonardo use it?
Caravaggio is great, is one of the greatest.
Yes, but he didn't use it either.
Caravaggio did use it.
We don't know anything.
No, it's
He
obvious.
guessed- he guessed that.
Caravaggio, I believe, he definitely did it. That's what Hockney proved very well.
Not this big compositions. You can't make it with the Camera Obscura.
I think Hockney actually proved it almost scientifically why you can, there's many reasons why you can, there's evidence that he did use it, of course, because there's certain effects that you only see through a lens and through a projection and not with the human eye.
Okay,
But I think it doesn't matter. Who cares?
This picture is also very interesting in some ways because you can say a painter paints a landscape picture and he will come home very tired and he say, the landscape is too overwhelming. I made only a copy of it. Then we are back to Plato. So you can say that you will always make a copy of something and that will be a problem for you, even if you look with your own eyes. But you can be tinted by the photography. So your eyes functions like a servant for the photos without knowing that you are doing it, just like they followed Hitler under the Third Reich. They served him.
I would
But
want
I don't know that they did.
I'd like to interject about the photography
I disagree
issue.
because I think that it's very simple. Here is somebody creative, let's say the genius, and he wants to express something that is in his inner world. It's invisible, it's immaterial. The reason why you paint and why we paint is because we have something not of the material world that we want to transfer into the material world. So we use tools, a brush, paint, pigments, canvas, other one uses wood. If you use a lens and a camera, who cares? Whatever it is, whatever you use. For me, it's like that when I look at the result. Is it something that touches and moves me? Is it something that makes me think? Something that changes my view?
I would just offer this.
Whatever you use as a
What you're describing is that anything that's moving, I just don't think necessarily anything that's I mean, all kinds of things are moving, and that's fine, and all kinds of things are art. But what I'm interested in is particular art forms. And art forms, I mean, not that everybody, nobody has to be operating within the same art form as anybody else, and that's what you're saying. Because as soon as you develop a form, an art form, then you develop what you'd call rules. You'd have, like in the 18th century music, there's 1,000 rules that were Haydn and Mozart are operating in a system of rules. You don't like those rules.
But then
Listen, please. You're not obligated to follow those rules. But I'm interested in the idea of rules because for me, conventions, the art forms develop their own conventions. And I believe that if I invent my own art form with only my own conventions and rules, I'll be weak and tiny compared to learning to understand, apprehend the conventions that were successful cooperative projects of thousands of geniuses in the past. That's what I'm looking. I want their rules. I want to know what their rules were. I want to operate within that structure. You don't have to operate within it. Nobody else does. But I'm looking for those rules.
Yeah, but which time do you mean? Because each century had different rules.
Right, but which one? But you know, listen, if I want to go back and dig out the rules, just like in the 15th century in Florence, they went back 1,500 years to dig up the rules. They were allowed, and that was their prerogative. That's what I'm looking to do, and I believe that's what. That's fine. There's nothing. I'm not judging whether it's new or old. I'm only saying if I want to look back, that I can do that, and anybody who wants to do that. But I feel like what you're saying is two things at once. One is that I'm not obligated to follow your rules, but the other is secretly that nobody's allowed to follow any rules because rules necessarily are of the past, and I think you're operating.
In this world are more models than just total anarchy and completely restricted fascism rules. There's lots of things to be.
Fine,
the
good.
world is composed of gray shades,
and everyone
there's
has to
no
find their
total black
space.
and no total
People
white.
have to find their
so when you
space.
say there were rules when Mozart and in Baroque time made music, that's right. But who were breaking these rules? The next genius.
That's fine.
Beethoven broke it.
Right.
Schubert broke it.
Of course
Then
they did.
Mahler came and broke it.
But even they were breaking them. Even Mozart and Haydn were. Everybody is breaking them. But the thing
That's
is,
what I mean. So,
but they're breaking them while they're operating with inside some sort of form of art. My problem is I'm not interested in
But I'm
operating
never
outside of
suggesting that
any...
there shouldn't be any logic or any system at all.
I think you are suggesting that you're suggesting that each logic has to be interior to the artist. I think you're saying
that's superior.
Right. It's a private individual logic, but I think that's going to be too small.
So you say it's good art if somebody doesn't use photography?
I didn't say that.
We're trying to move forward and go to the next painting. I'm sorry.
We wanted a discussion, so I have a discussion.
Finally we have a discussion and you get mad. I guess my question
I see the problem is you have the contemporary art world where most of it is fraud and is done by investment bankers and it's all crap. But then I see a conservative movement who rejects everything and wants to pretend we are at the time of the Renaissance. And I think
but that doesn't
that's
have
also
to be
wrong.
conservative. I think it's an error.
If you want to
it's a
conserve
false
something
paradigm
that's
to
500
see.
years ago, that's conservative.
Well, that's not conserving. It's resuscitating. It's not. There's nothing
Call
to
it
conserve.
resuscitating, yeah?
Resuscitating is different from conserving.
Okay, good.
You can't call. I mean, you're calling the Renaissance conservative. It wasn't.
No, if you're
It really
living in the
wasn't.
21st century and you go back to that, that's I would call conservative.
Well, there's nothing to
I don't say it's
conserve.
bad.
Over.
I don't
It's
say it's
gone.
bad.
I'm not saying that, but I think it's. I used to accept that. I used to think it was conservative, but I realize now that it doesn't have to be. It can be for some people, but your outlook, it doesn't. I think for us now to be reaching that far back, there's nothing conserving. It's trying to make some kind of figure out how do you put two blocks together? How do you make anything? That's not conserving. That's rebuilding.
Look, I'm all for it. I'm totally for the Renaissance art. I love it. It's something that inspires me a lot that I respect more than
I have one
anything
more
else.
point about photography, and I think the key to the whole argument is the graphy, not the photo, because the graphy part starts in 1826. That's with the
What is the
beginning.
graphy part?
Photo light. It's the writing in light. They had instruments to aid their seeing, but they never put them down. They didn't make a graven. They didn't draw. See, the thing is, what Daguerre and all of the 1820s, 30s.
Caravaggio didn't draw.
What?
Caravaggio didn't draw. He didn't make any drawing.
No. The machine only made a fixed image starting in the 1820s.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference. Everything they had before that was just a way to see better. The machine, philosophically, all of the machines they had helped you to see the world. But your experience was in the world. It was an intermediating visual aid. But you're still, you and the piazza. If you're Canaletto, I'm here, I'm looking through this. The thing is there, it's in the same moment. It's not intervening in my experience. I'm here, it's there, it's a real experience, it's the time that I draw it, it's the time that it is. As soon as
Project on a canvas.
but still,
I trace it.
in other words, the model stands there. I'm here. I can draw it like this. I can draw it like that.
Right.
I'm here with my model.
That's one difference.
So philosophically,
The camera was invented by artists in the 15th century already. Yeah?
but it's the
That's one
fixing,
difference.
it's the invention
Yeah.
of the silver nitrate.
It's the chemistry.
The chemistry turns it into photography.
Yeah.
There's no photography
Can
until.
photography be art or never?
Of course it can.
Yo pienso,
She's saying, I think.
simplemente quiero decir que veo que es un cuadro fuera de contexto de nuestra época, de las inquietudes y problemas que padecemos, y que su preocupación puede ser más de orden estético.
I don't agree because it is the problem for
Sí,
us
sí,
all.
efectivamente.
We are that figure.
Que somos esa figura.
Could I ask? I think
Dice que
the problem you're saying is that it doesn't have within it a representation of our world that we live in now.
El pintor, como el poeta, como el músico, etcétera, supone una sensibilidad especial, ¿no? Y una capacidad también especial para transmitir esa sensibilidad sobre las cosas de su momento. Y que lo que en realidad por eso lo que le sirve es esa denuncia de su tiempo y de él mismo. pues autorretratarse en la realidad, él, tal cual es. Pero aquí en este cuadro se podrían haber autorretratado muchos pintores, no de este tiempo, sino muy antiguos también, y exactamente de la misma forma. Luego a mí no me dice nada nuevo.
Yes, but,
Lo respeto y demás, pero no me aporta nada.
Jacob, the time is just formed by the capitalists. The time is just formed by the capitalists.
The representation of the contemporary moment in art, or the intention to represent the spirit, of the moment of now, becomes the law in the middle of the 19th century. Becomes the law of art. Before that, you don't find artists, with rare exceptions, you don't find artists representing their own time. It's not to say that they never did, but you certainly never find any sign of Florence in 1500 in any Michelangelo, and you never find in Poussin you don't find a sign of 17th century France or Rome. I'm not saying that it's bad to represent your own time. I'm only saying that the law that was handed down during the middle of the 19th century, that we must do that, which comes out of Courbet and the naturalists and then becomes enforced by this Zola and his theories, that law, I'm not interested in obeying that law anymore.
What you say is historically incorrect. Because it's true for Italy that everything was idealistic and not described.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that it was everything. I never said it was everything. No, I didn't say it was everything. I said it was not.
Started?
No, I didn't. I said there was always people representing their own times. I only said that the law that you must paint your own time appears in the mid-century, because of course in Holland in the 17th century and in Spain the bodegas, there's many of the old paintings, but I never said that they never did. I'm only saying that they weren't required to. The requirement starts in the middle of the 19th century. That's what I object to.
Chico, hacía tiempo que no presentamos piezas condiciones.
Photo, but it's okay. It's a good photo.
Because when I look at that, I get a connection to that representation of an individual as he touches me. Like I feel emotionally attached.
But do you feel it touches
many paintings I don't. But
does it touch you?
Seen the photograph, because that was probably even better.
Well, I'm curious.
We're not sure. Sometimes it gets better if you paint the photograph.
But my question would be: does it touch you in a different way than the photograph would have touched you?
I can only say this if the photograph would be here. Right. Then I would tell you, no, the photograph is better. Or I would say, you know what? It gained through the painting. Even if it's subtle, it got more intense. But I would have to see it, because I don't know.
A mí me gusta este cuadro.
Yo creo que tiene...
Hombre, desde un principio lo...
Tiene alma, tiene sentimiento. Ahí está brutal. Sí, está brutal.
Desde que estaba en digital lo
es que
defendiendo.
Los cuadros pequeños parece como si tuvieran menos oportunidades, menos posibilidades.
Pero hay una concentración de sentimiento también.
Pero no olvidemos que hay grandes obras pequeñas. O de los de la...
It's very difficult actually to paint like that, because
¿Qué preguntaba? ¿Qué preguntaba?
It's a person trying to make painting in the old-fashioned way.
En la manera antigua.
And to me,
y a mí,
that's important.
Eso es importante.
It's not the only thing, but
no es la única, pero es lo que
pero no hay que pintar como los antiguos.
But he says you don't have to paint like in the old-fashioned sense.
Tú no vas vestido como los antiguos.
He says you're not dressed like the ancient people.
But you don't have to. You can dress.
No como fórmula, no como.
But I find a lot of Rembrandt in your work.
Tú puedes ir como quieras.
Sí, no, pero... du kan gå
Acaba de decir que hay un montón de Rembrandt en tus obras.
No, pero
Pero no hay una voluntad de hacerlo como Rembrandt, no hay una voluntad, y en ese cuadro hay una voluntad de hacerlo como unos pintores que tampoco lo hacían así en su época. O sea, que no es
han
verdad
sier
tampoco, como
at
pintura
i det
antigua.
maleriet
Es
så
una
ser han
receta
ikke
antigua.
han sier de prøver å følge noe fra det gamle, men de
Pero
får
quedamos
ikke
en que
helt
nosotros habíamos
til
ya
det maleriet som
olvidado
But
la
now I
receta,
want to
¿no?
say something. Everything before Rembrandt and everything after Rembrandt is always the best. And you
antes y
represent
después
people
de
that comes
Rembrandt.
after Rembrandt, because all the best before Rembrandt looks like Rembrandt, all the best after Rembrandt looks like Rembrandt, and you looks like Rembrandt.
Dice que todo antes de Rembrandt y todo después de Rembrandt se parece a lo que está haciendo Rembrandt. Supongo que lo que se refiere es
Pienso que no. Todo se parece porque todo sale del hombre. Pero cada, claro, sí, pero cada época tiene su forma de pintar, su forma precisa de pintar. Sí.
Que todo parece Rembrandt y todo es Rembrandt. Y que él también es Rembrandt.
No me gustan las recetas ni en Rembrandt.
Han liker ikke at det en oppskrift i maleri.
No me gustan las recetas, no me gustan, ni aunque las haya inventado él, me gustan.
All the great masters in the end are equal.
Todos los maestros al final son iguales. Son únicos por su obra.
En el fondo somos iguales, en la superficie no.
The late, like the late Egyptian, like yourself, like the late Michelangelo with his last figures, it looks like it's made of the same person.
Yo creo que cada uno tenemos nuestro rostro. Tú tienes tu rostro, tú tienes tu rostro, él tiene su rostro. Y tiene que notarse tu rostro y tu piel tiene que notarse en la superficie del cuadro. Tiene que estar ahí.
Være reflektert i maleriet.
Bueno, selvfølgelig. That's only your personality. That's only your, that's only your personality. That's only your personality.
Somos iguales y no somos iguales.
I don't understand. This isn't an accident.